She said,
yes!
Welcome to Hack-A-Week. Yep, that's right. I asked Lisa to marry me back in June and she said yes. And of course, I would make her the ring. There's no way I would go buy one because I'm a maker. So, you know, I have to make her a ring. Lisa is great. I met her at Maker Faire, and ever since it's just been a wonderful journey, and it just keeps getting better and better. She is awesome. You know the old saying, behind every great man there's a great woman? Well, that's Lisa, and sometimes it's the other way around. And she's made some great suggestions along the way. She totally supports everything I do here with Hack-A-Week, allows me the time on the weekends and sometimes during the week to get all this stuff done. She thinks it's great. And she makes great suggestions sometimes too. In fact, she's the one that suggested I should leave little mistakes that I make in my projects, because it teaches people that mistakes are okay and that you learn from them. And she's been in a few videos, made some great suggestions there. And anyway, I want to share with you now how I made this ring right here at the workbench. And it's just going to be in pictures and a voiceover, but hope you enjoy it. Well, here it is a little bit closer, and it's all nice and sparkly. I love rubies. Lisa's grandmother's name was Ruby, and it all sort of fits. So I got the ruby from a mutual friend of ours that's a jeweler. He gave me a really good deal on it. It's a nice, beautiful, deep red ruby. He also sold me the fixture that holds the ruby. Those are called prongs that hold the ruby in place. A little bit tricky to learn how to do all that work. The silver came from a whole box of silver jewelry making supplies some friends of mine gave to me many years ago. Their mom used to make jewelry as a hobby. She passed away. They had the stuff kicking around, and they knew I was kind of a maker, doer, tinkerer, hobby type person, and they asked me if I wanted it, and I said sure. So that's where all the silver came from. So let's take a look at some of the still photos I took while I built this, because I usually document pretty much everything I make, and I'll explain a little bit how it all went together. Well, the first thing I did was cut a couple of strips from a flat piece of silver and textured them a bit with the Dremel tool with a little grinder bit on there. They ended up looking like just kind of a random tree branchy sort of thing with some texture that looked like bark, because I wanted them to look that way. And then I wrapped them around a ring arbor to Lisa's ring size. I managed to find one of her rings and got a size of her fingers on there. Tapped them around the ring arbor a little bit to get a nice round shape. And once the round shape was achieved, then I made two of those, and I linked them together like this. I wanted to put some leaves on it as well, so after those were linked together, I set them aside, and I took another strip of sheet silver and cut out a couple of shapes like a leaf. Once I had those shapes, I filed them a bit, bent them, polished them a little, and ended up with these two pieces that looked like two little leaves. Once those leaves were made, I joined them onto the two pieces that were then crisscrossed with each other, applied some heat with a torch. At the time I had a torch that was pretty large, so it was a bit tricky, and ended up with this. That was the basic ring, and then I needed to put in something for the ruby to go on. So once I got the cross piece there and put the setting in for the ruby with the little prongs, which is made of gold, put a little bit of solder on there, heated it up. I use a type of solder paste that you can put in place, and then you just heat it up and the flux is already in it and it flows into place nicely. Once that was done, I went over everything with a little bit of crocus cloth to get an initial polish on it, just to take a look at it, make sure I liked the way everything was. Then it was time to set the ruby in place. Rubies can withstand quite a bit of heat, so it's okay to put them in place and then continue to do any soldering later, which I did. And once the ruby was in the setting in the prongs, which by the way had to be notched with a very small Dremel bit, Then they were pinched into place. The setting was there, and essentially the ring was done. After that, a bit of polishing, and it looked gorgeous. And then I presented it to Lisa at a dinner a day after our anniversary. I put it in an old typewriter ribbon tin and pushed it across the table to her and asked her to marry me, and she said yes. So there it is, in all of its shiny little beauty. Isn't it pretty? So there it is, isn't it sparkly? That's how I made Lisa's engagement ring. Till next time. The twitch didn't matter. Here's the outtake.